everyone, and welcome back to RippleMakers. This is a series of podcasts on the human side of transformation, and I am Ranan, Bhattacharya, Practice Head for Change and Transformation Consulting at MARG. Just a bit of rephrase on RippleMakers. So we are here to discuss about the problem that won't go easily. No matter how much technology we throw at it, 70% of the large transformation programs still miss their goals. And that number has not changed much in the last 2 decades. So in every episode of RippleMakers, I sit down with one leader who has worked on the quieter but the harder side of the transformation, which is people side, and listen from them what they have actually learned and did to handle that. Today I'm delighted to welcome Nithya Subramanian, a very known global data and AI executive with more than 2 decades of rich experience driving enterprise scale transformation across retail, CPG, healthcare, technology. Nithya has built and scaled multiple data and AI organizations and center of excellences from ground up, taking them from 0 to 1 all the way till enterprise-wise adoption. And she now also serves as the independent director, bringing the boardroom lens to the digital transformation. What I love about her perspective is she insists that AI is not just a technology conversation. It's about translating it into enterprise value through the right operating models, talent, and adoption. So Nithya, welcome to RippleMakers. Wonderful to have you.
Thank you, Ranan, and this it's a great, I would say, opportunity for me to be here in RippleMakers and to be able to share my view on this topic. In fact, as I would say, the people side of AI. So thank you for this warm welcome.
So you have built data and AI organizations from 0-1 to across multiple industries. And that gives you a rare vantage point that you have walked into the companies in very different states of readiness. So if I ask you that when you actually walk into an organization, what do you see, hear, or feel that tells you that this place is ready for transform, or it says that, no, it's not ready at all?
Yeah, that's a great question, in the sense that we need to see organizations in multiple lens to ensure whether they are ready for transformation. And what is a pretty stoic and profound is that, in fact, all of those lens is not related to technology. It is more about how the organizations are structured, what their culture is, how they treat their people, and how they enable and empower their people, and how they are looking at their processes in a very transformational way. So technology, I think, nowadays, since we are saying, technology is available to everybody, it is mostly open source, so it doesn't remain a key differentiator. So let me start with structure. So the moment we try to centralize all of our AI, we have lost the game. So AI and analytics, data, and all of that needs to be distributed and democratized. For instance, if we might still argue saying that, hey, I cannot democratize everything. Yes, we might not be able to, but keeping some of those central controls like data governance, model governance, all the various frameworks, say for example around responsible AI, etc. Because that is as we can say, the policy setting I would say entity, whereas the actual implementation of AI and analytics need to be distributed or federated, as they call it as. So, and this implementation of AI needs to be integrated deep into the businesses with kind of fairly autonomous teams. So there is no point in having analytics driven by centralized ivory tower kind of setup. It has to be as close to the hands of the decision makers as possible. The other structure is in terms of, how do we ensure that AI is well adopted and therefore the change management aspect of it and the entire people aspect of it comes into picture. Because earlier, it was still kind of, we could still afford to think of change management probably as an afterthought. Maybe even back then it was a key differentiator. Now it has become even more important in the AI world to get all the people along right from the beginning, in order to to be in a better position to be able to tackle their queries, their anxieties, etc., much better, and for us to ensure that AI is built through a process of collaboration and co-creation, which is very, very important when you want to have a joint accountability and ownership built into it. And that is kind of something pretty conducive to your adoption and value realization. So the entire way that organizations need to look at change management, that has transformed in itself, and some of the successful organizations should be able to imbue that. Coming to the other one, culture. So AI is kind of very different from other technology because AI tends to take a lot of control on the decision making away from people by being by building a lot more autonomous systems. So how do we solve for this lack of trust is very, very important. I think what I mentioned about mindfully doing change management is one aspect of it, and also need to address the inertia towards change heads on. We need to build that growth mindset among our people in order to change their perspectives towards AI, to feel comfortable towards AI by learning the new technology, and just be relevant and more productive, because AI can also help them be more productive. So this inertia towards change is only going to be detrimental in the long run, and leadership needs to consciously think about how do we build this growth mindset, how do we enable our people to learn. And the whole thing about product thinking has become even more important now. So project execution is a part of product thinking, but everybody in the teams need to think, at the product lens, from a customer-centric point of view, from a systems thinking point of view. So that part is it's very critical and important. And as I mentioned, right, people need to be enabled at the same time. As we see certain positive behavioral changes, we need to reward that also. So there has to be some sort of a tweaking in our rewards and recognition system as well, that would give a greater emphasis to flexibility and problem solving and collaboration. So it has to be a holistic, I would say, transformation across the enterprise that is very, very essential and critical in order to drive these rapid changes which are being brought about by AI development.
So with that, we move to the next topic, which is basically, since you have advised CXOs as a trusted partner, and now you sit in boards also as an independent director, which means you see the metrics leaders track, and probably the ones they wish they were tracked earlier, maybe. So if you could just pick one or two metrics that every CXO should be tracking, or the AI leaders should be tracking, whether their transformation is actually healthy, and what would this be? So what would be your kind of suggestion for one or two key metrics what every leader should be focusing on today?
I think I would go with a few metrics. It could be two or three. One is basically speed to value, and that is the one of the, I would say, the first or the easiest way of measuring transformation, because transformation is towards multiple ends. One of them is how fast we are able to build how the systems that we have built are able to make the decision making process faster by bringing the right level of data and analytics at the point of consumption, and everything in between, which is to say that building intelligent AI systems and building business intelligence layer around it, and all of that. So by doing all of these fundamental transformation, how we are improving the speed to value. Another one is in terms of value incrementality. So again, every AI system has got a certain operational imperative to achieve, but all of the AI systems, if they are achieving their operational imperatives, how that impacts collectively my end, I would say, enterprise value, which I would need to track on my, say, quarterly reviews and so on and so forth. So that could range from your revenue maximization to margin optimization and, say, customer delight, your measurement of customer delight and all. So how all the AI charter, how your AI charter collectively brings incrementality towards these enterprise metrics. So that is another aspect. And the third aspect is in terms of, while we are chasing speed and while we are aiming for value incrementality, I should not be breaking anything that has been working. So what is the operational reliability? So are my systems more reliable operationally, that they may make better and accurate decisions, there is very limited downtime and things like that? Of course, that's another great metric. We should not be kind of getting things worse in terms of operational reliability. We should be actually making things better there. So these are three very, very important. And I'll just add one more aspect, which probably I missed in my previous answer, which is that all of this and more is realizable as long as we look at look at AI as giving us the ability to transform our business processes, rather than building some of those plug and play solutions and just fitting them here and there and assuming that is your transformation, right? So transformation needs to have a much more holistic thinking. We need to start from systems and business processes and then plug all the gaps through AI, and only then, and plus all of that we discussed so far, will be will help us achieve these metrics that just spoke about in terms of speed to value incrementality, and operational reliability.
No, it's amazing to see that, Nithya, how we have given more impetus on the value-based metrics. So your direct call is like, focus on the outcomes, focus on the value, because that's, end of the day, the key responsibility of the leaders. It's not about the activities or the initiatives. Change management has always been hard. We have always faced difficulties in kind of explaining the need of change management. We have more than 2 decades of ERP rollouts, cloud migration, digital transformation, and we have seen some of the common trends where, like, people resist, some people adapt, eventually things settle, but it doesn't get solved by itself unless somebody really takes the ownership. So my question is AI resistance fundamentally a new problem? Or do you think it's the same nature as the old human resistance, just amplified and louder? So how does AI have amplified the human resistance problem?
Yeah, I mean, I think as probably I did mention in earlier part of this conversation, that there is a lot of resistance which comes from trust deficit. Right. See, people have been having a lot of control over their decision-making workflows so far, right? They used to have Excels in front of their eyes. They used to apply formula, and they knew whatever was the reason why they are making a certain decision. And end of the day, there is some bit of a gut feel and the luck, and then some fragment of luck and all of that. But now what happens is that since we are automating systems through AI, there's an inherent lack of explainability, right? It's people are not very comfortable with that decision because they don't know how that black box made that decision. So on the flip side, we can say that AI is, the decision making of AI is not black box anymore, right? We can still kind of have a certain workflow with sufficient amount of deterministic approach built in that end-to-end workflow to be able to track the decision making process. But still, people still see that as a black box system. Another one is, the entire discomfort behind the delegation of decision making to AI. People try to hold that on to themselves, right? So this trust issues are there, prevalent, and again, the leadership need to have mindful conversations and appropriate investment in upskilling people in order to kind of, I would say, come over this trust deficit. Another one is insecurity in terms of, am I going to lose my job? Am I going to be irrelevant? And things like that, which I think has been repeatedly insisted across multiple forums and even by people who are building those AI systems, that that's not the case, because human beings have always been relevant historically in spite of all the technology waves that have come in the past. So there is going to be a new reality in terms of what roles are going to be more relevant in future, and all that we need to do is consciously, with a lot of determinism and effort, we need to cross that bridge. And another one, again, the problem of crossing the bridge, a lot of people do not make that decision. There is an inertia to learn new skills, and again, there's a lot of people angle to it, which needs to be handled pretty, I would say, mindfully by the leaderships. Another one is in terms of the inherent risk which the AI systems still have, right, in terms of privacy and security, in terms of bias and false information. Of course, a lot of these leaders, they talk about a doomsday philosophy, and it might be out there a few hundred or thousand or whatever years out there, but then the problems here and now are in terms of privacy, data security, bias, and hallucination and all of that. So these are still ongoing problems. Those systems are getting better at it, but still, once in a while we see some things break and leak out of the crack. So this is another thing where people are a bit jittery in infusing AI in especially those critical systems where the decisions are pretty critical, or there are high fidelity systems and all of that. And basically, I think it's hard to keep pace with the madness at which this technology is changing, right? By the time you learn something, you come to terms with whatever you have learned, it has again changed 10 steps further. So this is again something which a lot of people find difficult to kind of keep pace with. But again, there has to be mindful interventions done by enterprises to kind of filter out noise from what is the real stuff that people want to learn. Of course, technology is one thing, but it's more about embracing change and growth mindset. It's not only about technology, it's about the entire personality change which needs to happen around this technology. And again, the renewed importance to customer centricity, systems thinking, and change management.
I think we have discussed a few quite serious things. So let's do a bit of fun now. So I would ask you 5 rapid fire questions. So why rapid fire? Because I don't want you to think much. Whatever comes to your mind, just bring it out. And that's definitely related to the discussions what we are having. So if you're all set, we can start the rapid fire.
Yeah.
Okay, great.
Yep.
So the first one is, what do you think the toughest belief to unlearn for leaders today?
The toughest belief is that values or value systems or company values are only for corporate websites and for office wall decors. They are just kind of, meant to be there.
One overrated trend.
AI first approach or missing the bus approach without operational readiness is highly risky. And when I say operational readiness, it's not only about your systems, and processes. It's also about your people.
One thing people leaders must start doing.
They must start treating adaptability, as a core organizational capability, right? Technology is, of course, one of the organizational capabilities, but even more important than that is adaptability, and adaptability at all levels, being from your, the guiding strategy to all the way until the AI solutions that we are bringing, that you are building, because change is a constant, and there is a lot of I would say lack of information or obscurity that or I would say where we do not know entirely what we need to build eventually, right? That sort of an environment where we continue to operate. So therefore adaptability is something which everybody, leaders at all level, must kind of learn as a skill and practice.
Great. Then at the same time, I'm tempted to ask one thing people leaders must stop doing.
People leaders, they confuse employee comfort with employee well-being. I think employees need to be nudged to learn and adapt to the new realities, and that will be a true sense of employee well-being, not when they are happy in their comfort zones.
Excellent. One last question is, what is your biggest time waster today?
Okay. Quite a lot. But I think the biggest time waster is, sometimes, you are called into meetings which you tend to think, a part of you just screams out saying that, hey, this could have been handled in a simple email. Why a half an hour, 45 minutes, 1 hour meeting for this? So I think the biggest time wasters today are those non-productive meetings.
So we are almost at the top of the time. So maybe one last question before we close. And what will be your one piece of advice to every leader who are listening? Someone navigating the next 18 months of transformation, what would be your advice?
See, 18 months is not a very long time frame, right? I would say it's not. I mean, it's the way we see the models after models being churned out, frontier models coming every second week, right? 18 months seems like 18 years, though intuitively we might say 18 months mein kya hi ho jata hai, right? What happens? So I think, one thing is people need to have, leaders specifically need to have an eye on how things are evolving and how that is going to impact me as an enterprise, how that is going to impact my competitive position in the market, and how or I would say what are those newer challenges that this whole thing is going to or I would say the newer models, if I'm bringing them into my ecosystem, how that is going to impact. And I think I'm sure we have all heard of Mythos by Claude, Anthropic, sorry. But the point is, see, Mythos is a very, very powerful model, and everybody wants to jump into it and acquire that for themselves. So the point is, it's so dangerous that it can really exploit your system vulnerabilities, right? And then twist the entire game against you. So I think there has to be much more of red teaming in our decisions that we are making right now about the correct models, and at what point in the decision making life cycle we need to add those models, and etc. So next 18 months is not going to be different from the next 18 days. We need to have a continuous I would say challenge. We need to face that continuous challenge and continuously fight that given the way technology is changing.
Thank you so much, Nithya, once again. And to everybody listening, please share this episode with maybe one person in your team who needs to hear that. That's how ripples actually travel. And until next time, keep making more ripples. Thank you so much. Thanks, everyone. Thanks, Nithya, once again. And have a great day.
Thank you.